Kindly join us for today's news bulletin. My name is Fales Chizombe. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV urges journalists to guard against propaganda in reporting news about war. Malawi Electoral Commission hails resilient voter turnout amid harsh weather conditions. Central Bank dismisses link between new 20 kwacha, 50 kwacha coins and currency devaluation. And in other news, Kenyan President William Ruto unveils plan to ease public burden on safari rally funding. We have more stories coming up, but do stay with us. Pope Leo XIV on Monday met the Italian journalists and cautioned that news reporting must avoid the risk of becoming propaganda, especially in the context of war. Speaking to representatives of LAI and the editorial team of TG2 on the occasion of the broadcaster's 50th anniversary, the Holy Father underscored the responsibility of journalists to verify information and resist becoming instruments of those in power. Tandem Zmara reading a EWTN news report.
Reflecting on the coverage of conflict, the Pope highlighted the importance of telling the human story of war by focusing on the suffering of populations and presenting events through the eyes of victims so that the reality of war is not trivialized. Pope Leo acknowledged the constraints of modern news formats, but pointed to this as a defining challenge for journalism. The Holy Father noted the transition from analog to digital systems, emphasizing that technological progress cannot replace human creativity, critical discernment, and freedom of thought. Pope Leo also addressed the growing influence of artificial intelligence, describing it as a central challenge of the present time. He then stressed need for communication to remain guided by a human-centered approach with careful attention to distinguishing between means and ends. The Pope further pointed to laicity and pluralism as essential characteristics of responsible media, describing laicity as an openness free from ideological preconceptions. He warned that the tendency to seek only information that confirms existing views, noting that authentic communication and true freedom depend on openness to reality and to others. Concluding his address, the Holy Father encouraged journalists to promote diversity and cultivate a spirit of friendship, particularly in a world increasingly marked by polarization, ideological rigidity, and simplified narratives that obscure the complexity of reality.
Chairperson of the Parliamentary Cluster Committee on Social and Community Affairs, Savio Kafafa, has called for greater engagement between cluster committees and the Ministry of Finance, stressing the need for Parliament's input to meaningfully influence the national budget. Kafafa raised a concern during a parliamentary session today in Lilongwe, where he reflected on the just-ended two-week cluster meetings that brought together the members of Parliament and different stakeholders to review the budget. Constance Kantemini has more in this report.
Cluster meetings have improved consultation over the years. There has been concern that contributions made during deliberations rarely lead to changes in the final budget. He said this has affected the morale of committee members, as many feel their role risks being reduced to merely endorsing decisions already made. Kafafa has since appealed to the Ministry of Finance to create space for cluster chairs to present their findings and receive feedback, expressing hope that this could lead to possible adjustments before the budget is passed.
Yeah, for the past 10 or 20 years or so of Parliament and discussing the budget here, it's been a trend that we are told that we should discuss the budget. We go into the Committee of Supply where we raise a number of issues. And then Parliament reached it to an extent, because even at first there were no cluster meetings. So we should really recommend the recent developments whereby for the past 10 years or so, we are now having this, what we are normally calling them cluster meetings, where we spend 2 weeks of deliberating and getting views from those who are going to implement the budgets.
In response, Minister of Finance Joseph Mwanamveka welcomed the concerns, describing them as important in strengthening the budget-making process. Mwanamveka said the government remains committed to consultations, noting that the budget already incorporates views from various stakeholders, including Parliament, academia, and other sectors. He further confirmed plans to meet cluster committee chairpersons to hear their specific observations, saying such engagements are key to improving oversight and ensuring inclusivity in nation planning.
Let me say that we do welcome the question or the observation made by the chair of chairs that indeed maybe because previously we used to meet chairs of committees. We used also to meet chairs of public accounts and also chairs of budget. But this being our first budget, obviously we'll make sure that we meet them. And actually I've already committed that we meet them because it is very important that when the budget comes here, all the chairs of the committees need to know what is in the budget.
The development marks a shift towards enhanced dialogue with expectations that increased engagement could improve the relevance of parliamentary contributions in shaping the nation budget. For Luntha News, this is Constance Kamtemen.
The Reserve Bank of Malawi has introduced new 20 kwacha and 50 kwacha coins, emphasizing that the move is not related to any changes in the value of the local currency. Governor of the Reserve Bank of Malawi, George Partridge, made the remarks on Tuesday during a press conference in Lilongwe, where the new coins were unveiled. Partridge clarified that the issuance of the new coins is purely an administrative decision aimed at maintaining the country's currency structure and ensuring availability of lower denominations. Here's part of what he had to say.
The introduction of two new coins, which are replacing the 20 kwacha note and also the 50 kwacha note. Having seen the frequency of replacement of these notes and the cost that the replacement entails, we decided that it is now time to introduce these two new notes. The demand is still there. I think we did share the statistics in terms of the pieces. I think it's 4 million pieces for 50 kwacha and 1.6 million pieces for 20 kwacha every month. That is demanded by members of the public. So the demand is low, but we still have to fulfill that demand to maintain the integrity of our currency structure.
Government has called on all stakeholders to take an active role in improving water, sanitation, and hygiene services in healthy facilities to ensure safe environments for women and newborns. Minister of Health and Sanitation, Madalitso Baloy, says government is committed to ensuring that healthy facilities across the country provide clean and safe conditions, particularly for women during childbirth. Baloy made the remarks on Tuesday in Lilongwe during the official launch of the Time to Deliver Watch for Women's Healthy campaign by WaterAid Malawi. We have more details in this report filed by Charity Chilanga.
Speaking in an interview, Owaloyi emphasized the need for a coordinated approach involving the donor community, private sector, district councils and other stakeholders to address challenges affecting wash services in health facilities. He said government is implementing various measures including an executive order on sanitation and hygiene in public places, development of guidelines and the rollout of direct facility financing to empower health facilities to improve water and sanitation infrastructure.
It is very important to ensure that all stakeholders are taking part in this activity, especially ensuring that wash activities, hygiene, issues of sanitation are implemented within the hospitals. So when we say stakeholders, we are meaning the donor community, the private sector, the district councils, and everyone that is there concerned with the issue that is currently there. We want to make sure that women are giving birth in clean environments. We want to make sure that we safeguard the children that are being born. We want to make sure that we reduce the infections that are there. And this is a national drive, and we make sure as the Ministry of Health and Sanitation that we drive it.
Head of Policy and Communications at WaterAid Malawi, Chandewila Chisi, said the campaign aims to raise awareness and mobilize commitments from stakeholders to improve wash services in healthcare facilities. Chisi said the situation on the ground remains critical, with many health facilities lacking adequate water and sanitation systems, a development that negatively affects maternal and child health.
Our experience, having worked with the communities for quite a number of years in the space of wash and healthcare facilities, we observed quite a lot of things over the years, and we've been working towards filling up the gaps in terms of providing water, sanitation and hygiene systems, but then the problem turns out to be bigger than we had expected, and we thought we needed to bring the attention of the government but also all key stakeholders to understand what's happening, especially the way the issue of wash is affecting mothers when they're delivering the babies, the kind of environment in which they're operating.
Meanwhile, NGO Gender Coordination Network Chairperson Maggie Gatwera-Banda said there is need to strengthen implementation of existing policies to address challenges women face when accessing maternal health services. Gatwera-Banda said while Malawi has progressive policies on women's health, gaps in implementation and resource allocation continue to hinder progress.
Yeah, for us, we want to amplify the situation to the public at large, but also to government, that they should realize the particular challenges that pregnant mothers face when they go to deliver in various health establishments. I think it's something that people have been talking about it, but now we want to make it formal so that the nation at large should be able to appreciate that indeed there are challenges and then we need to do something about it.
The Time to Deliver Wash for Women's Health campaign is a global initiative running up to 2028, aimed at promoting investment in water, sanitation and hygiene services in healthcare facilities to improve maternal, newborn and child health outcomes.
Malawi Electoral Commission Chairperson Justice Annabel Ntalimanja has commended voters across the country for turning out in encouraging numbers during the ongoing by-elections, despite adverse weather conditions. Speaking at Kasia in Ilongwe after inspecting several polling centers in Chilobwe Ward, Ntalimanja noted that voter participation remained strong, with many people braving cold temperatures and intermittent rains to cast their ballots. She said the Commission implemented contingency measures to ensure the voting process proceeds smoothly without disruptions, including the use of alternative facilities such as unused classrooms, as well as the installation of tents at selected polling centers to protect both voters and electoral staff. Alison Banda has filed this report.
Ntalimanja expressed dissatisfaction with the overall conduct of the exercise, noting that most polling centers opened on time and that distribution of voting materials was successfully completed in the majority of areas. She added that MEC had anticipated the prevailing weather conditions and prepared accordingly to maintain an efficient and accessible voting process. Meanwhile, Ntalimanja expressed satisfaction with the overall conduct of the exercise, noting that most polling centers opened on time and that the distribution of voting materials was successfully completed in the majority of areas. She added that MEC had anticipated the prevailing weather conditions and prepared accordingly to maintain an efficient and accessible voting process. The MEC chairperson also urged voters to strictly follow electoral rules and procedures and emphasizing the need to maintain peace during and after the voting process, including the announcement of results. She assured the public that adequate security measures have been put in place and warned that anyone who breaks the law will face appropriate legal action.
The outlook is great. The centers opened on time. We had slight challenge with the rains, but they have since abated now, and people are coming through. Our anticipation is that people will continue coming throughout the day until closing time, but so far our processes are going on well. The voters are being identified using the biometric voter verification devices as well as the physical voters register. But also our teams were quick to improvise to ensure that no voter is inconvenienced with the rains, so we are voting inside the classrooms. Ordinarily, we do so outside, as you know, we practice, but to ensure the voting experience is smooth and comfortable.
Chirobe Ward has 29,190 registered voters across 14 polling centers. The by-elections was triggered by the death of Councillor Madache Pakamwendo of Malawi Congress Party. 4 candidates who are contesting are Gladwell Chiwaya, Independent, David Kamwendo, MCP, Saidi Ligwede, DPP, Zindo Mavuto Ndembo, Independent.
The Association of Social Workers in Malawi President Joseph Kalelo has declared inadequate funding for social welfare programs, warning that the situation is straining officers and affecting service delivery across the country. He made the remarks in Lilongwe during commemorations of World Social Work Day held on March 17. Bridget Monuka has filed this report.
Kalelo emphasized that the association is pushing for greater budgetary support for the social welfare sector alongside the passage of the social welfare bill, which is still in its draft form. He added that securing both funding and legal backing is crucial to empowering social welfare officers, improving service delivery, and ensuring vulnerable communities receive the care and protection they urgently need.
Indeed, today, as an association, we joined the global community in commemorating the World Social Work Day. And this day was set apart in order to celebrate the work that social workers do in Malawi. As you know, social workers play a vital role in facilitating development of our country, particularly by working with vulnerable groups. So this day was set up in order to celebrate the important role and the work that social workers do.
Director of Social Welfare in the Ministry of Gender, Enogi Bonongwe, noted that funding for social welfare remains a subject of debate, with some stakeholders underestimating its importance to economic development.
This day is very important to us as a ministry and as social workers in general. The ministry where I come from, the workforce is mainly social workers. So today we, first of all, celebrating the professionalism that we have committed ourselves to uphold, but we are also celebrating the work of the ministry that employs many social workers.
Meanwhile, Heston Girembe, a lecturer at the University of Lilongwe, observed growing interest in social work studies, with students from various higher learning institutions participating in the commemorations.
Yes, first and foremost is that at the University of Lilongwe, we are actually providing the excellency in terms of social work trade. But having recognized that social work is now becoming a universal approach to addressing issues of human suffering. And therefore, here we have branded two things. One, social work as a professional practice, and also social work as a field of study.
Activities began with a march from Amina House to the University of Lilongwe. This year's event is being held under the theme Building Hope and Harmony Together, working hand in hand with families and communities for a better future. Bridget Mwanoka, Luntha News.
And in international news, Kenyan President William Ruto has announced plans to transition the Safari Rally Kenya 2026 to full private sector funding in the coming years, saying the move will ease the pressure on the public finances while ensuring the country retains its place on the global motorsports calendar. The rally, part of the World Rally Championship, concluded in Norvège after attracting thousands of fans who turned out to witness one of the motorsport's toughest events. Japan's Takamoto Katsuda, alongside the co-driver Elon Johnson, secured a historic maiden WRC victory after navigating the pushing Kenyan terrain and unpredictable weather conditions. Afoso Omar brings us more from the rally stages in Navisha.
The 2026 edition of the Safari Rally Kenya, part of the World Rally Championship, has concluded in Naivasha, with drivers battling tough terrain, mud, and unpredictable conditions across the iconic rally stages. Toyota driver Takamoto Kasuta and co-driver Aaron Johnston emerged victorious, securing their first ever World Rally Championship win after delivering a consistent performance throughout the 4-day event. Kasuta's victory came after a dramatic rally that saw several top contenders suffer mechanical problems and punctures on the tough Kenyan stages. This allowed the Japanese driver to capitalize and maintain the lead through the final leg. The rally, which ran from March 12th to March 15th, featured more than 20 special stages covering over 350 kilometers of competitive distance around the Great Rift Valley region. Meanwhile, President Ruto announced a major shift in how the event will be financed in the future. The president said that beginning 2027, the rally will be fully funded by the private sector, with corporate partners taking over responsibility for hosting, managing, and promoting the event.
This is the last Safari Rally where we will be expending public money to promote it. From next year, this event will be fully funded, fully supported by the private sector. And I want to congratulate the private sector for stepping up as patriots and citizens and partners with the government of Kenya to assume the responsibility of hosting this event, managing this event, and promoting this event and financing this event.
Ruto noted that the move will allow the government to redirect public funds towards sports development in schools and infrastructure while maintaining Kenya's place on the global motorsport calendar. The Safari Rally remains one of the most demanding events in the WRC season and continues to attract thousands of fans and global attention to Kenya's motorsport scene. Alphonse Ouma, Luntha TV, Nairobi.
That item concludes our today's news bulletin. Before we go, a look at the top stories. Pope Leo XIV urges journalists to guard against propaganda in reporting news about war. Malawi Electoral Commission hails resilient voter turnout amid harsh weather conditions. Central Bank dismisses link between new 20 kwacha, 50 kwacha coins and currency devaluation. And in other news, Kenyan President William Ruto unveils plan to ease public burden on Safari Rally funding. and Fales Chizombe, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.